Will Prince Harry be deported from the United States? That's the question that's been in the media for months, with the Biden administration now dragged into an ongoing legal saga as to whether Prince Harry should have ever been issued a U.S. visa in the first place. And today we're going to tell you why Prince Harry's been dragged into this and what every nomad capitalist needs to know for themselves. So for months I've been reading headlines about how Prince Harry perhaps never should have been allowed into the United States to begin with. Yes, he is married to Meghan Markle, who is a U.S. citizen. But here's the latest article from the National Post, which says Prince Harry's visa scrutiny continues after he admitted to taking drugs in his memoir. And so the core of this issue is that when you apply for a U.S. visa, you have to say, I have not used illegal drugs. Even as more states allow marijuana use, for example, the federal government, which controls immigration, does not. So people will sometimes ask, well, do they really think anyone's going to admit to using illegal drugs if they're illegal? And I think the U.S. government has accepted that people may say, no, they haven't taken drugs, but that merely gives them an easy way to say, hey, you're cut off at the knees if they ever find out that you took drugs. The same way that if you want to become a naturalized U.S. citizen, you have to answer questions like, have you ever been part of a terror organization? All right, well, I wasn't going to tell you, but you got me. No, people aren't going to say yes, but when they later figure out, oh, you were part of a terror organization, out you go, you're denaturalized. The same thing happens, and that's what certain people are saying should happen to Prince Harry, because what they're saying is, when he applied for a U.S. visa to come and live in the United States, no one knows entirely what it was. Is it O1? There's different kinds of ways he could have come in. But he didn't say he used illegal drugs, and yet when his memoir, Spare, got published, he talks routinely about how he has used illegal drugs. So here's the story. The Joe Biden administration has been accused of stonewalling an illegal bid to uncover details of Prince Harry's U.S. visa application using Freedom of Information laws. A request to have the application fast-tracked on the grounds of exceptional public interest has been turned down, which has been described as an outrageous decision by a Washington-based think tank that is pursuing this case. The right-wing Heritage Foundation, which, from my point of view, publishes the world's freest economies, in which the U.S. has been going down for the last 25 years, has now asked a judge to overturn the decision by the Department of Homeland Security and two of its agencies, with a hearing expected next month. Basically, what they're trying to do is get their hands on the entire visa application and ask, why did a guy who's admitted to using legal drugs, which you can't do if you want to come into the U.S., why was he given a visa? Was he given special treatment? Did someone look the other way? And why did he get that treatment if Joe Blow couldn't come into the United States under the same set of circumstances? It's argued, the article continues, that the Duke's record should be made public because admissions of drug use are grounds for inadmissibility in visa applications. Here's what you should know as a nomad capitalist. One of the things that we talk about here is Americans who want to renounce their citizenship. They want to be free of the United States, but perhaps they want to come back and visit at some point. Heck, occasionally, someone even wants to come back and live. You may be asked, have you used drugs? And if you can't answer no, you may not be allowed to come in. Certain criminal records may be used against you. And so we've seen that in situations with certain people who have come to us where they're like, yeah, I got in trouble for some stuff. And we're like, that may be an issue for you going back to the U.S. in the future. Prince Harry, the article says, has admitted to taking drugs, including cocaine, cannabis, and magic mushrooms. I don't know about any of this stuff, honestly. Sources close to the Duke have insisted he was truthful about his drug use on his visa application, which raises questions about whether the Duke was given special treatment, the foundation argues. It is asked whether he was granted a waiver by border officials. Now, under the U.S. Freedom of Information laws, applications can be fast-tracked if there is widespread and exceptional media interest in which there exists possible questions about the government's integrity which affect public confidence. And so the Heritage Foundation is basically saying, Prince Harry case cleared that bar, but their fast-track application has been turned down on the grounds that British-based publishers, including The Telegraph, which had demanded answers of the visa application, were not sufficiently mainstream in the U.S. to count. So it will be very interesting to see how this plays out. Other newspapers like the Daily Mail in the UK have said, why is there an exception? There should be no exception for royalty. They talked to one attorney in the U.S. that said, if you revealed in a book that you experimented with drugs when you were a young man, that would not be enough for immigration officials to launch an investigation into Harry's status. But they also say it is not known exactly what questions Harry was asked when applying for his US visa, because it's not yet clear which kind of visa he received. The question on the ESTA application, which is what a British citizen or most other Western citizens, except Canadians, would have to use to come to the United States without obtaining a visa. So if you are German or Swiss, whatever else, you'll fill out an ESTA every couple years in order to come in. It's kind of like an electronic visa. It's almost more difficult than getting some visas. But the question on the ESTA, which most UK tourists would use, is, have you ever violated any law related to possessing, using, or distributing illegal drugs? And so I go back to, let's say you are American and you have violated a law, whether you've been convicted or charged or anything else, you're supposed to answer. And so the question at play here is, what happens if someone, if it's you, we probably know what's going to happen. If it's Prince Harry, what happens if you admit in a book? Is that enough? There seems to be some debate. But for the Heritage Foundation, they're saying, well, wait a second, why is there debate? Admission of drug use, it's illegal in the United States, and it should be pretty clear. And so experts have said U.S. visa applications would usually be thrown out if there's any history of drug use. So again, very interesting case to watch with Prince Harry. Is there going to be a special rule? I don't know that being married to a U.S. citizen really does anything about that. I think people seem to think that if you are an American and you just marry someone from abroad, there's just no questions. I can tell you, we've seen those processes. It is very rigorous. And so just the fact that he's married to Meghan Markle doesn't really make a big difference, I don't think. Is the fact that he's Prince Harry, does that make a difference? You would think in the United States it would not. You would think that they would just, go right down the. After all, it is a country with the rule of law, right? And so I think the fact that many people would say, well, but there's special rules for the elite, is perhaps a reason why you want to have options outside of the U.S. or any other Western country. And so Prince Harry may have difficulty or may have fewer options given his background or what he wants to keep in the UK, getting some kind of second passport. You having some kind of second passport would be a good way to expand your options. But again, very interesting story to watch. We'll see, what rule of law exists in the United States. Are there special rules for celebrities? And really the question is, what kind of visa did Prince Harry have? And that could really determine what happened here. But even to visit the U.S., you've got to answer that question. And so the idea that be able to move to the U.S. and for this to go unchecked is very interesting.